Hello, 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 and welcome back to Kerbal Space Programming. Kevin here, and today we are going to where no one has been before, or at least where we have not been yet. That is Minmus. We have put our transfer satellite into orbit, and we are just waiting to make an inclination change so that we can perform our transfer burn all the way up to the second moon of the Kerbal system. And rather than waiting and actually specifying where this ascending node is, we have targeted and we've decided that we are going to transmit the instructions and do our plane change maneuver kind of ad hoc. We are going to basically just time, and there we go. Inclination script is executing, it's targeted Minmus, and now it is going to point itself toward the anti-normal, the downward direction, so that we can actually start adjusting our inclination. And we are going to track our inclination relative to Minmus because it is not on an equatorial orbit, which makes it a little more difficult for us to sort of plan these maneuvers. And unfortunately, if we were to try and just burn without doing this correction first, we could end up flying over or under the moon, I should say, by the time we get there. But there we go. We are getting close to matching our inclination. And all right, we've passed it a little bit, but that's okay. We have relatively good inclination, and now we're going to discard the transfer stage that got us up here. We will leave that in space to clutter up the atmosphere. Let's take a look at the script. And here we are with our inclination change script that we just ran. And let's see, the first thing that we are doing is we're notifying that we are running that script, and then we're going to require the maneuver KS. We're going to need that because we want to make sure that if our rocket were to burn out, that we do end up terminating stuff. So we're bringing back our ish function, which just as a reminder is something that will take 3 parameters and tell us if they are ishy. So it'll take 5 and 6 with a margin of 0.5, and it'll be like, no, but within a margin of 2, then yeah, they are ish. They are close to being the same. We should probably either abstract that to a shared library and probably give it a different name. But anyway, we've pasted that in. Now we're going to target Minmus and lock our steering to down, which is 180, and on the horizon there, we'll wait 10 seconds, and then we're going to adjust our inclination. So we'll lock the throttle to 1, and what we're going to get here is the inclination of these 2 orbits. So Minmus's inclination happens to be 6, and our inclination when we're in an equatorial orbit is 0. So what we're going to do is we're going to wait until Minmus's inclination minus our inclination is less than or equal to 0, or, well, our stage burnt out. So basically, as we burn downward, our inclination is going to creep up and up and up and up and up and up. And as soon as it reaches 6 point, that, then this is going to be, either 0 or negative. So we should end up in a relatively similar inclination, which is great. And then we'll throttle down, we'll wait 5 seconds, and we will discard that stage. And that was our inclination script. Now let's take a look at actually boosting our orbit up to Minmus. Okay, so very similar stuff here. We're requiring orbit KS, which we wrote many episodes ago now, I guess. We've included the ish function again, and we are going to wait until our angle from Minmus is 115 degrees. Now, this is something we'd eventually probably like to calculate. What is the correct number of degrees that this thing should be ahead of us before we start a transfer burn? But instead, I just kind of looked it up, and I'm going to call this target angle function that we wrote in our orbit.ks script a while back that basically is just giving us the angle that this thing is ahead of us. And we're going to wait until it's ish 115. And so this is actually a little bit of hacky code. I'm saying until that, go ahead and print it out in that way. So you don't have to watch it. I can just sort of look at this thing as it advances up and skip over the boring waiting part. But yes, so as soon as that is done, then we can go ahead and begin our transfer. So we'll notify that we're beginning. We'll set forward to prograde and lock steering to forward to make sure the prograde doesn't change while we are burning. We'll set our start time to right now. Throttle up. Oh. Actually, you know what? That is a remnant. There we go. Let's get rid of that. That's no longer necessary. We're going to wait until our ship's apoapsis is greater then Minmus's apoapsis, and then we will throttle down. So we're not using our home and transfer delta V calculations. We're just going to kind of manually check because we really want to avoid overshooting if we possibly can. Then we're going to enable the antenna using logic that we saw in the previous episode, where we just get the part and we get the module associated with that part, module RT antenna, and then we are telling it to activate and telling it to target Keosat 1. Finally, we will align to true north and wait 30 seconds to make sure that that alignment takes place. So with that done, let us go ahead and transfer over to Minmus. So after waiting for our ship to get to the correct angle, which fortunately I'm not making you all sit through, we are sitting there, we are aiming toward the prograde vector and starting to boost up our orbit. We see there it goes. Our periapsis is going to end up being kind of where we are now. We are boosting up our orbit, and we have, as you can see, a considerable ways to go. There's the moon's orbit, and then there's Minmus all the way out there. And you see that our orbit is going to slowly increase. And yes, unlike, we probably could have done this by using our home and transfer calculations, but just the same, because there is a little bit of a risk if we were to overshoot that we could end up getting flung out into deep space, because Minmus is right there kind of on the edge of the sphere of influence of the planet Kerbal. So we wanted to play it safe and hope that we can manage to get an encounter this way. And the cool thing is that now that we've got that Keosat in orbit, that should be able to relay a signal all the way out at that far distant moon of Minmus. But okay, we're finally starting to get up there, and oh, there's a moon. Okay, good. No moon encounter, because we don't want that today. And there we go. Okay, so we've overshot it, but we do have a close encounter. So that's good, and we are aligning our craft for maximum sunlight. But okay, yeah, before we get too far along, we probably want to go ahead and make sure that we are do a retrograde burn until we know that we have an encounter. So let's go ahead and write a script to trim our close approach back to something reasonable. Okay, so minor correction, we're going to lock our steering to retrograde and wait 10 seconds because we want to bring our orbit down. We're going to set a start time just to make sure that we don't accidentally skip past stuff and then burn all of our remaining fuel. But we'll lock our throttle to 0.01, so very, very low. And we're going to wait until the ship orbit has next patch. Now, this will happen now that we have these maneuver planning. We can check to see if it has a next patch, which means, is there another orbit that this is going to enter into? When we're just, in our own regular orbit, then nope. We are in an orbit theoretically forever, but as soon as it detects that we will have an encounter, well, then there's a next patch to our orbit, and therefore we know that we have an encounter. So that would be great. Or we've burned for 30 seconds. If we've done that, then let's say, okay, we've clearly gone past it and we don't want to run out of fuel, so go ahead and lock our throttle down, and then we'll just go ahead and align for sunlight again. Let's go ahead and test it out. And after uploading our new instructions, there we go. We are going to perform our correction, and we are turning ourselves around ever so slowly. Not the most maneuverable, this craft, unfortunately, but okay, let's go ahead and boost up. There we go. Alrighty. We already got our encounter. Perfect. Okay, and we are realigning for maximum sunlight. So let's go ahead. We'll go ahead and set this, I think. Let's see. Yep, okay. So we're gonna go out there, and let's go ahead and actually, let's set this as the focus view so we can take a look and just make sure that we have enough time, because we want to make sure that we have enough time to be able to circularize. And let's see, that's an hour and something. And boy, that is far away. Look at that. All right, so we've got that, and then we've got an escape. Yeah, I think we should have enough time to do our deorbit. So let's run over and, or our, I guess, injection burn. So let's write a script for that. So a series of waiting. We are going to wait until the ship's orbit body is Minmus, because right now it is Kerbal. So we will wait until we have hit the sphere of influence. Then we are going to wait until our ETA to periapsis is less than 20. Because we've notified we're in the sphere of influence. Great, so we want to wait until we're at the closest point, and then we will steer to retrograde, lock the throttle, and wait until we don't have a next patch. Because once we are there, or at least before we have circularized, well, we have a next patch, and that is our return back into Kerbal orbit. We want to make sure that we don't have that. So we'll go ahead and then wait another second so that we can burn down just a little bit more, and then we'll turn the throttle off, and then finally steer straight up again, get those solar panels into the sunlight. Let's run it. So back to our vessel, and there we go, awaiting Minmus's sphere of influence, which is going to be quite a ways off. I don't know, yeah, we can't even really see it from over here because it is so very distant. But yes, okay, so let's warp ahead. Whoa. Okay, we gotta be careful about warping too fast, because unfortunately when we get to these crazy distances, things can get a little crazy, and if we warp too fast, we may miss the encounter, because occasionally KSP's physics is not all that it could be. Let's see. Okay, so yeah, we're still... I wonder if we can see it. Can we see it? Where would it... Yeah, okay, well there's Kerbal, so it should be somewhere over the... Nope, okay. I do like how the skybox is set up such that as we're looking at the sun, the camera will expose for the light. Oh, there we go. I just sort of spotted it there. There we go. Hello, Minmus. We are coming for you. Oh, and that's really pretty. Look at that. All those planets and things. I love this. This is the... Distant Objects Enhancement mod, which means that we can see things that are far away, which I think is really cool, because by default, KSP will not render this stuff, and you just kind of get the little map icons, which is not as fun. But okay, so now we can't warp too fast, we just gotta get... We could probably warp past this, but I just don't want to take any chances. And yes, we see we did have a quick little blackout with the communication signal as we were going along there. But yes, as we get further away from Kerbal, and well, you know, as we're moving relatively slowly, you can see our orbital speed is quite low. It does end up taking a considerable amount of time, and I think even once we get into orbit around Minmus, we're still talking like a 4-day. It takes 4 days for us to orbit from this altitude. So okay, we're getting close there. We're down to some number of seconds. Oh man, I really do like that though. We can see that this is nicely aligned. It doesn't look like it's not vertical though, which is a little frustrating because it's supposed to have locked its steering. I'm gonna have to figure out exactly what's up with that. I suspect that what happens is that when the program terminates, the steering relinquishes, and then there's a little bit of jostling. Okay, we've entered the sphere of influence. That did not look like much of a change, but okay. And now we are going in the opposite direction of the spin of the planet, but okay, or the moon I should say, but that's fine. And now we've just got to wait until we are close to the periapsis, so let's warp ourselves ahead and try and get over there. Come on, don't overdo it, because yes, this script is not going to be lenient. If we skip past this point, we could end up in trouble. So okay, we've got a little bit more to wait there. But yes, so I'm optimistic that with this amount of science, I don't think we're going to be able to unlock the first set of solar panels, but it's possible that we could unlock some other stuff. I think probably want to go ahead and grab a set of perhaps landing wheels. Getting aircraft flying with KOS is much trickier than dealing with rockets, but it's possible that we could just do some land stuff and grab some science from over various biomes over Kerbal, and then, or at least around the Space Center, and try and rack up some science that way. It's one of the difficult things is that the lack of kind of good solar panels until you get further along in the tech tree, and the lack of decent antennae makes it very difficult. I think we probably should have gone with kind of a modified tech tree, perhaps, for dealing with this, because it does mean that like we really can't go to other planets and stuff for quite a while, because I think this was really designed with the idea of manned missions in mind, which I guess doesn't really make sense, but okay, there we go. We are attempting our circularization, and let us burn. Come on. Okay, you're pointing there we go. All right, go. Oh, okay. I don't know. Okay, that looked bad, but I guess that's just an effect of that. And there we go. We are now in orbit, and it will take us 4 days to reach periapsis. So we're actually in an 8-day orbit to get all the way around the moon. But I actually want to bring our periapsis down just a little bit to make sure that we can get low Minmus science. Let's go ahead and write a script. Okay, so I had initially gone through and written some stuff to grab the science manually, where we get, you know, ship parts named or parts titled, you know, Science Junior, or whatever the proper name is now, and then we would do get module, science experiment, and then we would run observe the materials bay, but unfortunately I discovered a little bug and that seems not to be working. So I think given that that is the case, I'm going to go ahead and run our science via the mouse. Oh no. And in the future we'll go ahead and actually make sure that we bind these to action groups just so that we have kind of that safety in case we encounter the issue again. But we do need to make sure that we actually get our periapsis below the threshold for near Minmus science so that we can get both the high orbit science and the low orbit. So we're going to lock the string to retrograde again, lock the throttle to a low value and wait until our periapsis is below 25 kilometers. Throttle down, notify that we're good, and then align our satellite once again. Let's do it. And with that ready to go, of course, the first thing for us to do is to run our script. Now, before we transmit our script, I'm just going to make sure that we have a connection, which we do. Fantastic. And I'm going to go ahead and manually run some of our science and get that transmitted. So let's observe the mystery goo. Again, this is because of a bug. I discovered that I was able to get the mystery goo and the thermometer to work correctly, but unfortunately, the Science Junior did not seem to want to operate correctly. So yes, we will eventually fix that. But the goo feels right at home here. Fantastic. Let us transmit that back home. And we will not be able to use that mystery goo, but that's okay because we brought 2 of them. And we got 7.5 science for doing that, which is fantastic. Let's log the temperature. Measuring the temperature of space seems to be quite impossible as there is no matter around to be hot or cold except the spacecraft and the thermometer. This is going to give them something to think about. Well, let's transmit and let them start thinking. And we will leave the materials bay for our near Minmus science. And actually, I wonder, can we transmit? I doubt it, but can we transmit again? No, that would give us 0 science. We could recover this, which would be nice, but yes, there is no way this is not tripped out to re-enter the atmosphere. So it is time now to transmit our new instructions to our Minmus probe. Okay, come on. Get your instructions. There we go. Adjusting periapsis for low Minmus science, and it is aligning retrograde. Yes, and unfortunately I did discover that kind of while saving and re-entering this that it did seem to get out of alignment, so I'm hoping that doesn't become an extended problem, though once we unlock better solar panels we won't necessarily need to worry about aligning ourselves correctly. It says, okay, low periapsis achieved, and then it should wait, and there we go, aligning again for maximum sunlight. Awesome. Okay, so let's take a look and see. There we go. Our periapsis is below 30 kilometers, which is great. That's what we need to get our low Kerbal science and or low Minmus science. Let's go ahead and do some time warping. Oh boy, and look at how slow we are moving. It is going to take us 3 days just to get halfway through our orbit. So we've got quite a ways to go, and you can see that, yes, we will end up in some times where we will not be able to contact the satellite because Minmus will be between us and our Keosat. We can see them all spinning around down there. That's wonderful. Okay, let's speed this up a little bit, but not too much. I do like this. It's kind of like not a sewing machine. I don't know. Something with gears that's cool. Okay. We want to get close up here. Because once we get down here, we will be moving faster, at least than we are at the higher part of our orbit. Let's slow down, bring up the display again. Let's see, what's our current altitude? Okay, we're still at 50, but look at that. There is some Minmusness for us. Fantastic, screenshot, there we go, okay. And we gotta wait until we get below 30, and then we can zoom in and start doing our science. Now I think we're going to fetch it, but we will wait to transmit it until we are back in sunlight, because otherwise we run the risk of really screwing up our battery power. So there we go. Materials science says the high radiation environment caused a few of the samples to glow. It looks like it would be fun to paint the rockets with this. Let's go ahead and keep that data, and we'll take a temperature reading. Collected and recorded temperature from the environment. That is wonderful. Thank you. That's very enlightening. Glad we invested all of these funds. The goo feels right at home here, but unfortunately we will be drifting back out to the higher part of our orbit. So, okay, let's go ahead and warp ahead until we are back in sunlight. And we can go ahead and review the data that we collected. Okay, but not while you're in time warp. There we go. And review. Oh no. Okay, well, we're gonna have to do another pass around because I clicked the wrong button. Review. Oh, there we go. Yeah, because I hit reset and not review. Okay. The goo feels right at home. We'll transmit that. Yes, and that is no longer viable. That's fine. And review. I gotta make sure to click the right things. Okay. There we go. Transmit that. And if we watch our power... Yes, okay, so it did take some electric charge, but it's not as bad as it could have been. And we, of course, will have to do another pass, which is going to be 8 days out. Let's go ahead and let time elapse. You see, our mission clock is racking up here. We have been in space for more than 2 weeks. And you see, as Minmus spins around, our orbit is remaining constant relative to Minmus, but it is rotating relative to Kerbal, which I think is kind of cool. Okay, let's get down here. And there, yep, 3 weeks. Okay, oh, did I miss it? Please don't tell me I missed it. Nope, we're good, okay. Observe the materials bay. Want work. Okay, good, we got the same science. Let's get back into the sunlight, please. And we'll go ahead and actually review the data this time. Review the data. No connection. We have no connection. Why do we have no... Oh, because of course. Now, the area in which Minmus casts a transmission shadow is different. And there we go. Okay. Let's transmit this thing, finally. Days and days of effort. Go ahead and transmit you. And yes, this is now inoperable. So now our Minmus satellite is simply a relay satellite. We will go ahead and let this remain around Minmus so that it can relay connections to anything nearby. And we will have to pick things up and do more science in the next episode. Hopefully, we can work toward actually landing on one of these two things. So I will hope to see you then. Cheers.